Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Now in this video I thought I'd go through some of the little experiments that I started throughout lockdown. My name's Richard and I am on a mission to grow as much food as I possibly can. On my allotment and modern Victory garden we have plenty of land in which to achieve this, and this is my video diary. Well, quite early on in lockdown I built some wicking beds, as I call them, and the idea here was I simply drilled a hole in a plastic container about an inch from the bottom on the side, filled it with compost and a bit of perlite, and then used that to grow some of my vegetables in. And my thinking behind that is it's going to create a water reservoir at the bottom, and it worked. It works so well. I've been growing lettuce and salad leaves and spring onions in these. It's been such a really fantastic experiment to really work. So much that down on my down in Grandad's greenhouse on the allotment, I made some out of some old paint cans, and I've been growing chili plants in those, and they have been fantastic as well. So I'm really pleased that that experiment has worked, and they have produced these fantastic little vegetables, and for me that's been one of the best results out of it. Now I did try sowing some Szechuan pepper, and unfortunately that failed quite miserably. They didn't even germinate, which I'm told is quite common with Szechuan pepper, if I'm pronouncing it right. Very difficult to get germinated, which I'm really disappointed with, because I really did want to grow that. But you know what, it is what it is. I'll have to look at actually buying some plants in, or perhaps trying again. Not sure why they failed. Perhaps they needed a bit more heat, perhaps they needed less heat, a bit more moisture, less moisture. I don't know what the problem was, to be honest. I should go and find out and try again. Now, something I want to bring you attention to is over the back here I've got this hanging basket that I set up for growing tomatoes, which I've got coming out the bottom. It's been absolutely fantastic. It has needed a lot more watering, which you kind of expect when something's up in the air. I've tried with hanging baskets like this, which unfortunately we've had some real dry weather here and they dried out far too quickly, but this one, it did work a lot better. Holds more compost, so I think therefore it held onto more and more moisture, and more importantly it's been producing us some really lovely tomatoes, which ultimately was a real result that we had. Now I'm going to take you on to some of the beds to show you something I've had to develop with that. Now you may or may not be aware that I keep chickens, and I love keeping my chickens. They provide us with fresh eggs, and they're great for the garden in general. We replaced their home, their coop, at the beginning of lockdown with an igloo, and the idea of that was that I could move it away from the beds and onto the grass and keep moving it around. Well, the chickens obviously, as they do scratch around, they've destroyed the lawn. The lawn is non-existent. That's not going to be a huge problem, because I want to incorporate their coop actually onto the beds anyway. But what I've had to do with many of the beds is protect them from the chickens. So this one here, which has got my carrots and my beetroot growing into it, I've had to make this sort of fence to really try and keep the chickens off it. It works, because before this went up, whatever I put down there, be it netting or cloches or anything, they did get in and they destroyed everything, and everything that I planted was killed off by the chickens. This has worked to keep them away. Another thing that I found was a veggie bag, which I was very kindly sent, and I've got a kale plant in there which is really growing really well, proven itself to be working, and the veggie bag actually goes all the way around the plant that's growing inside it. Again, it's not intended to protect from chickens, but that's just been a lovely side effect, and it's really worked well for me. Now in other places I've had to do bottomless pots in order to keep the chickens. Most of the damage comes from the chickens scratching at the ground looking for bugs to eat, and then they uproot the plants, and that's one of the problems we found with keeping chickens. Now we're coming up with this I don't like this cage. It doesn't look attractive, but it does work. The bottomless pots does work as well, but it's plastic again. Plastic is a common thing to be used. You know what? It is what it is. Now finally, one last thing I want to show everyone is the potatoes growing in straw. Well, growing potatoes in straw was a bit of a wild card. The struggle I had with compost at that time led me to choose that perhaps growing potatoes in straw was going to be a different option. Now, this is one of the buckets. It's very light, but as you can see, a potato plant has actually grown. I've got no idea what the potatoes are going to be like on the inside until it comes to harvest time. I've got to admit, I'm not expecting fantastic results, but what I can say is that it does seem to have worked. But until we actually dig out the potatoes, which they're not quite ready. The variety of potato is King Edward, so they're a main crop. So we're going to wait until the stems really die back and see what we get when that happens. And of course, I'll make a video and show you all what happens then. The thing I feel with this is they were also quite slow to get going. They took a long time to really start growing, and I didn't think they were going to make it at one point. They did in the end, and all of them grew, and but ultimately the choice is when they make potatoes what we're going to get, and that's going to be the final answer. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Just thought I'll share some of the updates from what's going on from the experiments that I've been running for that started in lockdown. If you've got any experiments that you started during the lockdown, please let me know what they are and how they've done. I'd love to know. Overall, it's been quite an interesting time, and there's always more experiments that I'll be running and testing. Well, take care, and I'll see you all again on the next video. And if you want to listen to the podcast, check out the website at theveggrowpodcast.co.uk. All the best.